Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and the KE7, the almighty god gun, has been nerfed. That's right, the form it was in when it was slaying noobs when BF5 first dropped is no more. You can treat today's video as my starter support weapon video if you like, part of that series, because all of the footage is obviously pre-nerf KE7, so you can see just how good it was, and I'll likely come back to the weapon soon in its new form to let you know how it performs in this lesser state. So the KE7, probably the most dominant weapon during the early life of Battlefield 5, has changed. I figured this would be a good topic to cover today, as lots of people will be really happy to hear about it, and lots of other people will likely be gutted that their favourite toy isn't going to be as good anymore. I'll go through how it's been altered, why it was necessary, and why this doesn't mean it's necessarily going to suddenly suck, but it definitely won't be as good. But let's make one thing clear, I think the nerf is a good idea, as long as DICE haven't taken it too far. Now to my reasoning for the nerf. A fairly standard rule in video games is that if an overwhelming amount of people use something, there's likely a reason for it. Basically, it's probably too easy to use or too effective, or both. It doesn't have to be the best at everything, but if it's good at the vast majority of things and doesn't require too much effort, it's probably going to become a problem, which in turn will frustrate people because they get sick of playing against it, which can breed toxicity towards the experience. I'll create a quick hypothetical situation to demonstrate. Let's say there's a World War I shooter, and we'll give it an SMG that's fairly easy to control, is effective at varying ranges, and has a huge magazine. We'll call it something random like the Hellrongel, right? I predict that gun will account for around 50% of SMG usage in our hypothetical game on average. And we'll call that game Butterfield 1, alright? It'll likely even touch 60% usage at its peak. That example shows that an easy to use weapon that's also effective can cause a real balance issue. So why might the KE7 fall into this category? Well, Battlefield 5 kind of did away with spread, which makes recoil an even more important factor, and the KE7 in its original form was just too easy to control. This is why its horizontal recoil has been increased, and it's lost the recoil buffer specialization, which reduced its vertical recoil. So it's essentially going to be more unwieldy. More skill will now be required to hit the target, and the specialization change specifically is even more important than it might appear, because recoil buffer happened to be paired with light bolt, which increased the rate of fire from 568 rounds per minute to 638 rounds per minute. So the KE7 gained rate of fire but reduced its vertical recoil, so there wasn't much of a penalty for the added lethality. Throw on top of this that it's an LMG, so it has a bipod, making for a weapon that could be used at almost all ranges. Pretty fast rate of fire for close range, stable enough for mid-range, and a bipod for long range. So it essentially outclassed the automatic assault rifles and certainly the SMGs, which have now thankfully also received a much needed buff. And that leads us nicely to statistical comparisons. So even at the slower rate of fire of 568 rounds per minute, the KE7 fires faster than the Sten, the MP40, the MP34, and it's equal to the EMP. Yes, they're all medic SMGs, so sure there are damage differences here and there, but essentially the KE7 can compete with or beat those close range options while being far better at mid to long range. It's not far off the STG of the assault class in fact, and beats it for RPM with the higher rate of fire specialization equipped. It's just too lethal to have all of these benefits plus incredible ease of use. Throw on top of that to me the hipfire actually seemed somewhat decent most of the time, and you can constantly reload due to being a support, and well, it just becomes pretty hard to argue with the nerf, at least in my opinion. We must mention that the high usage numbers for the KE7 can also be influenced by it being a starter weapon. I'm sure that has an impact, but please keep in mind the Sturmgewehr 1-5, the Sten, etc. Just because weapons are available at or near the start doesn't automatically cause it to be overused. Plus, it being a starter weapon is another reason why you have to safeguard against it being overpowered anyway. If it's there for everyone at the start of the game, it's going to run rampant and cut down usage of other weapons. But all of this in mind, this doesn't mean the gun is suddenly going to suck if DICE get it right. It's still going to have that rate of fire, it's still going to have a bipod, it's still going to be good at mid to long range, and it's still going to be able to do something at close range. It's just going to be harder to use. But what do you think? Do you feel like the KE7 deserved the nerf? And why? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to let the rest of my cut clips from this KE7 footage play out now for the rest of the video, for those of you who want to see more of what the weapon could do, of course with some background music accompanying it. And as this was the old KE7, it's not like I can use this footage again after this anyway, so I may as well stick it on now. Absolutely don't feel like you have to stay around if you don't want to, I totally understand, but if you do, I'd appreciate it. Thank you for being here with me today. I'll throw up the board of awesome at the end of the video for the epic people who support on Patreon as well. Please feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join my Discord server in the description description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.